Welcome back to another episode of the Dat Fitness Business Podcast. Tom Blackman with Dan Smith. Hello, Dan.
Hello.
How
How
are
are
you
you?
today? I'm good. I'm good today. How's things in Dan coaching world?
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. I'm finding that a lack of sleep is like catching up with me. So trying to get through this on a lot of caffeine, which would be good. But
Your
yeah,
your dad life, is it taking the toll?
yeah, it's more that he's not, because he's been like not well, and then something else has come up, and now he's just constant throughout the night, like up throughout the night. So yeah, that's what seems to be going on at the moment, which is
Hmm.
yeah. But touch wood,
It does get
he's on
better.
the mend, so that's good. Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Excellent.
People keep telling me
Cool.
that.
It might be that I think my internet's struggling a little bit today, so if there might be a slight delay in me saying stuff and you hearing it. So we'll work with that as best we can today.
That's all right.
Was that a purposeful delay then or not?
No, I don't know what. I don't know if that is yours or it's mine.
No, I think
Here's
it's
the
mine,
thing,
but
man.
we'll work with it because we're both professionals. So, what we're going to talk about today is the when to use AI and when it's a good thing, but also when it's not a good thing, and it might make you look like a bit of a dweeb. Because at the moment, I mean, AI is like just over a year old, isn't it? It's the big sort of hype, and that was about just over a year old when ChatGPT came in. And what we've noticed since then is a lot of clamoring of people to try and maximize AI as much as possible. And, don't get me wrong, I use AI, Dan uses AI, we both use ChatGPT and all these other things to help our business. But there's times when relying on AI can be a little bit, it can make your content look a bit crap and make your interactions with your customer a bit crap. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and when you should use it and when you shouldn't use it. So Dan, first of all, when do you use AI in your business?
I use it for quite a lot of things now, but I think we're coming at it from the angle of content, right? So on content creation, but I use it for note taking. I use it for research purposes. I use it with some of the many chat stuff we've got now. We like built AI into it, and I'm like, I just think it's great to be able to test stuff out and see how you can use it in those different places, the circumstances, but also to make some of the processes a little bit smoother. But I don't see how it could be used to just completely remove the creativity side, because that's what it can't do in my eyes anyway. It can't do that. Um, and even, I mean, I'll say this, even like the AI pictures and video that people are loving right now, like
Hmm.
I saw a thing, was it last week or a few weeks ago? They were like, look, this is like text to video now, 1 minute of video it's created, and it looks like
Yeah,
a
you can
feature film.
create. Yeah, you can make proper videos, can't you? Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thought, amazing, but like, what is the point? Like, why have you got to that stage where you just removed all of that, the creativity? And for me, that part of creating that's the joy in it, right? It's figuring out an idea, or it's having an idea and then putting your own spin on it in terms of like how you're going to get that across. And that's the connection. That's the bit that connects. It's not about the topic, or it's how you put it across, and your spin and the way that you present it is the creative side. Like, so if you just outsource that, I feel like you're missing the point of this whole thing. But yeah, my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because there's, I mean, one of the big proponents of AI in sort of the entrepreneur world has been Dan Priestley, and he's always said that it should be like a companion, like an assistant, like someone you bounce ideas off, someone you get new inspiration from. But ultimately, the decision and the end product should be you as the business owner putting your seal on it. And I don't know what I've seen a lot of this recently is people posting direct from, like, they put something in ChatGPT or write me a comment or caption for this, and they post it directly into their Instagram story without without editing it. Classic examples are like you see people like posting like discover or realize with a Z, not an S, stuff like that. And for me it's very obvious. I don't know if it's obvious to everyone else, but for me it's very obvious when someone's done that and used AI. From being an AI user myself, I can see the common things that pop up, and the content just doesn't read as well as it should. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you're right. You can see it a mile off. I can see there's certain telltale signs with AI content, and that's what I was saying to you before this. Like, I feel like what you're doing is reducing the content creation process to just a tick box exercise where you're going, oh, I've got to do a post today, or I've got to write an email. Oh, just go into ChatGPT and write something, and it will spit out. That's my job done, and that's as far as you go. Because for me, that's not content creation. And if you're thinking about it as a tick box exercise, you're missing the whole point about what you're doing this for. And then you have no right to argue or to moan or complain that reach is down or engagement's down. You can't say that, because if you're doing that, you don't deserve any of that at all, because you just removed the whole point of the creative process to connect. And like you mentioned, I feel like using it to get ideas and to get drafts, like you mentioned, like get a first draft of something, but please go in and edit, please change it, please tweak, because over time anyway, you might think at the beginning, oh, this is saving me loads of time, but then I don't know, even 2-3 weeks down the line, and you're like, no one's really like speaking about this content to me, no one's having conversations off the back of it. I just feel like that's what we're going to get to. But then everyone's content is going to be the same as well.
Yeah, it's there was there's this quote going around at the moment, isn't it? It's do the opposite of what your competitors are doing. And I done a video on this and an email last week. But the whole thing about doing the opposite of what your competitors are doing, when AI was launched, using AI was the opposite, wasn't it? But now it's what everyone's doing. So a lot of these posts look the same and sound the same, and you're not standing out from your competition by all of a sudden, oh, I'm going to outsource or insource, whatever the term is, to my chat GPT to develop all these bits of content. Because the other side of that is that how many people say, oh, yes, you can make it sound like you, and here's all these prompts and everything else. I know both of us have done a lot of work on using prompts in ChatGPT to make it sound like us, but I still edit every single post, and I don't use a lot of ChatGPT posts in my captions. I use it for ideas, but I've stopped using it for my captions. I just get ideas now. But even if I was going to write like an email or whatever else, it still needed tweaks to sound like me, because no one's going to sound like you but you. And when you get someone on the phone or they engage with you, you want them that natural transition of, well, here's what he sounds like on his content, here's what he sounds like on the phone or on video. It's got to be the same. Otherwise, there's a disconnect there. Where it's like, oh, well, I connected with that robot sounding stuff. That was good, but he's not actually a robot. So there's that instant disconnect and the rapport break, isn't there?
Yeah, it's not the same. And there's AI now out there that is taking you, and you know this anyway, right? It's taking you, and it will be able to put you in a video format, mimic your voice, and then so you don't actually have to be there. But even then, it's like it's not. You can always tell it's not a real person, and another human will always be able to tell that. I don't care like how good it gets. I fully believe that you'll be able to tell whether you're speaking to a human or not. So even if you are going down the route of, it's okay, I'll just clone myself, create another version of me, make it sound like me, give it my same like style and manners, it just won't. It will still feel, because humans have still got that. I mean, I think I could tell, and I can see it in content. You can see it in what's being put out there. I don't put this video up the other day. I saw a video with someone talking about it, and they were saying that what humans have done is basically taken the greatest thing that we have, basically, and intelligence. You've taken intelligence and you've got rid of it. You've given it to a machine, And I was like, yeah, pretty much. And we only a human would be so stupid to try and do that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The other thing, that I think is worth mentioning here as well is that sorry, I just caught my blimmin' finger on my dead bench just then, and it's blimmin' cut my finger open. All these professional
oh, no.
things that happen. Sorry about that. Yeah. uh, sorry, getting back to it. The other thing to consider is that because people are now aware that you can use AI to write emails, to create captions, to do all this stuff, and now create videos, like you said, of you didn't even have to be there. It's a deep fake. You can just create something with your image and just write some stuff, and it will just do all your content for you while you're sitting on the beach in the Bahamas. But people are aware of that. So now, if something just looks even that slightly bit wrong, people are going to go, that's AI. I'm not listening to that. There's an immediate disconnect of that person hasn't taken the time to actually record that video and talk to me as a person. It's not given me the respect to talk to me as a person. They've AI'd it all. For me, anyway, that would be, if that's how they conduct themselves in a personal connection, how is it going to be in their business? It's going to be similar, isn't it? They're going to try and be reducing and downsizing and all, automating everything. For me, that's an immediate turn off in terms of that person hasn't taken the time. So why should I take the time with them? What do you think?
I think you. Yeah, I got most of it. I think you broke up a little bit there, but I'm going to come down in case it is my signal and I've gone too high up.
Hmm.
Yeah, that will stand out a mile as well. Just in the, like I said before, people will notice it, so it's not, people then get put off, and people want, especially now in terms of the coaching space, that human element's really important. And if we are going to go down the route of outsourcing a lot of things, and AI is getting more and more usage in different areas, then people will crave more community and connection. So that's one of the big parts that coaches can still keep hold of. So it doesn't mean that you'll be replaced by an AI coach, but they won't be able to create that sense of community and connection that you can as a human. So that should be the main thing that you still try and retain, rather than going, I'm just going to get AI to generate my next 365 posts for social media. I couldn't think of anything worse than
No,
doing my content for a whole year and going, no, that's that job done. Like, it just doesn't make you feel good in one bit. Yeah.
no, and yeah, it's just that lack of authentic content, isn't it? And let's say you can program AI to sound like you, but if you think that putting in a prompt that says, here's how I talk, make a load of posts like me, and that's going to be job done, that's a real mistake. And unfortunately, there's a lot of companies who sort of really drop the ball on this. And I've had a couple of emails from companies, and I thought the emails weren't. I thought, that doesn't sound quite right. I thought they were ChatGPT generated. And then I see them talking all the time about how they've used AI to streamline their business. And I'm going, okay. That's why the emails don't sound right, because they're not actually written by a person. So now every email I get from
Yeah.
that company, I'm like, I'm not even going to read it, because it's just an AI generated thing. And I did read one the other day, and it is just purely a sales letter written by AI, and it just sounds bad. Maybe that I'm just too finicky because I work with AI a lot, but it just sounds bad.
Yeah. Yeah. We built, I built this whole AI vault for our coaches, and well,
Hmm.
it's not like anything crazy. It just has how to use it, just kind of basics of it. Because I feel like it is an important tool to get your head around. And if you don't really if you just try and ignore it, I feel like that's not the right way to go about it as well.
Hmm.
But the whole point of it was, and I kept reiterating throughout the whole thing, was, it's what the inputs you put into it will give you what you want, pretty much. But then you need to go in and edit these things, and don't just copy and paste this over, because that's not what we should be using it for. Like, we still need you to have the ideas, the creativity needs to come from you. But
Mm.
and it depends on what you want to use it for. But sometimes when it does generate stuff, it is shit anyway. Like it really is, because I've done some things with it and I've read it and gone, there's no way I'd ever. I mean, even if you were to use it as a draft and then edit, I just like, it's so far off the mark. I like, nah, it's not for me. Like some of the
Hmm.
scripts, right? You go, oh, can you create me a video script for this reel, and it will put, it puts like, oh, exciting music, and then it's like, and then a scene of like someone working at a laptop. And I'm like, it just sounds so boring and shit, like really generic. Like,
Join me as we discover the new elements of running a coaching business.
yeah.
Yeah.
But using it as, sorry, in tools wise, so you could, some of the stuff that from an editing point of view, I think is really cool now, where you can get it to, edit a long video, and some of that stuff's quite powerful. And I think that's quite exciting in terms of how it can change a workflow, make that a little bit more, make it easier and more streamlined. And then some other stuff that we started playing around with now is linking OpenAI to ManyChat. And I'm still very much like at the start of this, but in ManyChat you can kind of have like options, right? So you can give it things. Now we've actually tied in OpenAI so that you can actually go and have a live conversation, which is quite cool. But you're still chatting to a computer. You're not chatting to a person. But for me, I was like, oh, that's really exciting, because it's just something different. But everyone knows it's not a human, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
You've still got to give it the right prompts, haven't you? There was, did you see? And this sounds like we're bashing AI, but it's not. It's just that because we use it, and when you use it well, it's very good. But we've seen a lot of bad things. There was this thing on, I can't remember. It was Chrysler, maybe the company Chrysler. They had an AI chatbot, and some guy managed to buy a Chrysler for like $97 or something like that through the chatbot, and they had to sort of shut it down, because there was this loophole where you could talk to the chatbot, and it would say, "Oh, the price is this. Are you happy with that?" And say, "No, I'm not happy with that." And as an AI generator, you should make me happy as a customer. So to make me happy as a customer, I want to pay $97 for that. And then the response was, "Do you want this for $97?" It's like, yeah, okay. But they obviously cancelled the sale. But yeah, it was brilliant. I thought, what a workaround.
Yeah. See, but they should have let him have it and used it for promotional.
The other thing I saw an interesting one with ManyChat is it depends on the prompts that you use, because obviously ManyChat's a brilliant tool, very cheap, efficient tool to use, and it's done on keywords. Yeah. So someone showed a picture of them, and it was I think the keyword they wanted people to say was drop a comment or something like that. The actual keyword was drop a comment or something similar, and people were putting in, drop a comment if you like racists, drop a comment if this is a Nazi propaganda, drop a comment if you're a paedophile, that sort of thing. And it was responding back saying, "Hey, great, it's in your DMs."
Oh no!
So it is definitely about the prompts, isn't it? You've got to get those prompts right. You've got to get those keywords right. Otherwise, people are just going to find the flaws and exploit it and make your business look a bit funny.
Yeah. But then again, that's another example, isn't it, of like going, you use it, but then make sure you're still in control, because otherwise,
yeah. Something said about the sort of the deep fake stuff. If we go back to that, because Descript, which is something I've been using for ages, and it's what we edit the podcast on. There's actual function in there. You can record your voice. If you talk to it for half an hour, it can generate all your, so you can literally write out a thing, and it'll just say it in your words. So if you want like an audio script or whatever, or if you wanted to say write a podcast and not have a visual one like we have, which then converts to audio, you could record your voice for half an hour and then basically just write out the podcast, and it would then generate the podcast for you. I think that's pretty cool if you get it right. It would save a good amount of money. And something I've seen a few YouTubers who I'm on email list for, like YouTube creators and stuff. They are now sending their emails with a audio version. So when you open the email, it says to listen to this email rather than read it. Just click
Nice.
here, and it opens like I thought that was really cool. And I replied back to the guy. He's quite a big. He helps people like he's helped people like James Smith and stuff like that. I replied back to this guy and said, "Oh, that's really cool. Did you use Descript for that, or did you record it yourself?" And he said, "No, I recorded it myself. However, something in the future is possible."
Yeah.
Now that would be really cool, wouldn't it? If you were sending an email out and said, "Not got time to read this, just click this," and you can listen to it while you're on your podcast.
Yeah, it's not even, well, that is a cool feature, but then from an accessibility point of view, I just feel like you're being more accessible, right? So
Yeah,
for people who but there are tools out there that do that now. There's like readers that will transcribe it, and do you know what I mean? So for people who are visually impaired or can't see as well, then they'll have these tools. But if that's already given the option, that's pretty cool.
So
Yeah,
the difference was it would be in your voice. So, for example, if
yeah,
I wrote out a whole load of stuff, and because I'd spent half an hour reading a script from Descript, which incorporates all the flexions and all these other things, it could generate any of my words itself. So if I wrote an email out and said just generate this as an audio, it would do that, and it would sound like I was reading it, and
yeah,
that would be very cool for the 711 thing. Generating that extra touch point, which people could listen to you rather than read the email. And
yeah,
for a long email, that's also very good because sometimes people haven't got the time to listen to a long or read a long email. But I haven't got time for this now. I'll just press play, and then you can listen to it while they're on the treadmill or whatever.
yeah. I like that.
Yeah, I thought
Good
that was a
idea.
really cool little. It hasn't gone as far as some deep fake stuff yet, but I'm sure that's probably on the way because Descript have been ahead of the curve in a lot of this stuff for years. And their editing tool again is AI based. So on the editing tool, it will automatically pick out things like filler words and stuff like that, and recommend changes to words. And you can, using that voice transcript thing, say if we had a podcast, we're talking about 10k months, but I wanted it to say 20k months. I could highlight the 10k and say change this to 20, and although my lips would say 10k, it would say 20k, which is also very very cool.
Yeah, I like that.
So I might have to record you, and then I'll just put some random stuff when you speak on the podcast. Be quite good. Yeah, all I get is get my guys to DM 50 times a day. No, Dan, that's not the right way to do things. Yeah, it's the best way to do it.
But yeah, we can just do a deep fake episode. Just
A deep fake
deep fake
episode
each
where all
other.
we do is talk about like DMing people and like getting them on a call, and don't let them leave before they buy. Make sure they're crying when they get the credit card out. Maybe we should do that as an
Yeah,
April Fool's
yeah, we
podcast.
should do that.
It's
Yeah,
coming up, isn't it?
deep
Month's
fake
time.
it. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes, pretending we have show notes. Okay, so is there anything we've missed? Because I know we said we wanted to keep these episodes shorter. Talked about when not to use it. I think we've talked about when to use it.
Yeah.
Talked about some examples of not, and examples of when. Have we missed anything here?
No, I think it covers it. I think it's just to get that point across, really. I think people can you can either ignore it, which isn't the right thing, or you can
Mm.
like go the other way and you just everything now revolves around like, okay, AI will do all my work for me.
Mm.
No, like yeah, but I get it maybe for some places, and I'll still probably argue that it's still not, it still would be a shit idea. But I'm trying to think of an example where that would be maybe for a product. But even then, I'm like, if you have a product, I still feel like people buy into who's behind that product and then what's the story behind it and how does that connect. I don't know. Maybe that's the way I think about things, but I struggle to see a space where it could just be that's just handed off, and then you're like, cool, I'm on to what the next things are. But it just doesn't feel like it would ever be like that to me.
No, and I think what people are missing here is that content creation isn't, it shouldn't be a job. It shouldn't be like, like I've got to put the trash out and I've got to make my content. And I think
Yeah,
a lot of coaches do view it as that. It's like, I've got to create content because how else am I going to sell my coaching? When I think it should be, well, what content could I write which is fun to do and also shows that I'm a good coach and I get results with people? How can I make that fun? And I know we've both been in this situation in the past where content creation has become like, oh, I just can't be fucked to do that anymore. And that's because we've become too focused on like the end goal of I want to sign up more clients, rather than maybe, like you said, social media should be social. It should be fun. It should be interesting for people to come and talk to you and digest your content. And then a little bit of sales stuff, which then, oh yeah, do you know what? I like that guy. He's obviously a good coach. He's shown me some good proof. He's actually a nice, I like the content's great. I engage with it. I wouldn't mind buying from that guy.
yeah, that's it. But
And
that's what I
and,
mean.
and that's, sorry, go on.
I say that gets missed, that part, because it's seen as a chore, right? At content creation, but you don't have to be amazing at content creation, but if you're not willing to put your own kind of thought process behind it, I struggle to see. I get like people might have resistance towards technology or copywriting or whatever, but you can get better at those things. And the way to get better is to embrace that a little bit and put yourself out there to get better. You have to start with the first piece of content or the first email or the first video, and then you will get better. But if you don't do that, you're never going to get better. But if you just go and I'm going to just outsource this to an AI, you're not really doing it. That content creation process it's not about the post as such. It's everything around it, and it's also the series of content. So it's not just ever one post. It's like the way that you show up online, the consistency towards your philosophy behind like what you do. And I feel like you can't get someone to imitate that. It just doesn't work.
No, you're exactly right, because like you're saying, like, again, people view content as, I've got to put a post out today. What am I going to post? When actually it should be like, right, what am I talking about this week? What's my aim to talk about this month? And what content is going to support that? And AI doesn't see that unless you were to really spend a lot of time programming that prompt, in which case you're probably better off doing it yourself anyway. But I mean, certainly for my content, I say, well, this week I'm talking around a topic. So the content I'm doing that week is around that topic. And there'll be the things that come in and out. But it's generally, look, I'm focused on this general topic this week. And next week I'm focused on that general topic. And that all is part of my big content plan to help people understand coaching better and be better coaches,
Yeah.
and to show what sort of person I am. And AI doesn't think like that. It says, create me 30 posts to do this, that, the other. Even with the human prompts on it, it's just gonna create 30 posts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless you were to say deep dive it and go, oh, we're going to talk about this, but then you're going to spend so long prompting it. I don't know. Maybe the time is well spent doing that, but I think you'd still have to tweak all of those things anyway at the end.
Oh yeah, definitely. We one of the things we use is getting AI to ask like you questions as well. So then you can obviously feed it with more information. And even if you do that, you'll spend 20 minutes, half an hour answering the questions, putting all the information in. And even then, when it comes with your 30-day content calendar, it's still shit. It's just not, because it's not got you. I feel like most people would enjoy content creation more if they like stepped outside of their own ego a little, or like moved out got it out of their own head, because there's this fear of like what people will think. There's a fear about how people are going to look at them, what will their friends and family think, and so it's easier to hide behind a pre-made post because I've kind of got rid of that job. It's done now, and then you're not getting what you need from it anyway. So you're not any further forward, because that piece of content is just now. It's not really. It's just that, like I said before, it's like ticking a box, going, "Oh, I've done that." when you reduce content creation to a box ticking exercise, you're in it for the wrong reasons.
No, exactly right. I mean, and you are right. This I've got a big like sheet. It's like called an avatar generator. I know you've got something similar where you put in all the problems your ideal customer faces and who they are and all this other stuff. Basically, your client avatar. And I've plugged that into at ChatGPT and said, look, here's who I work with. Ask me any questions you need to know any more things. But I would like to have 30 content ideas around this. And it's a good exercise because the questions it asks you back, you can go, oh, I didn't think about that, and you can go and update the avatar with the stuff. So that's a really good exercise. But then even with all that stuff, like you said, it's the 30 sort of problems it comes back with. They're not specific. Even if I put like, for example, my like physique guys who I used to work with, like the avatars are Andy. He's this old. He works these sorts of. He does. It's like an exact person, and then it's like things around his lifestyle. It still doesn't come back with the specific things about how there would be issues with snacking on the sofa, because it doesn't. It's not a coach, so it doesn't think that way. It just thinks in a general way. And even though it can access the internet, it might eventually get to a point where it says, what about snacking on the sofa? What about the kids don't go to bed, on time, so then he's delayed creating his food or whatever. It just comes back with general stuff. So you've got to be really careful. And this is, again, it's like that dumbing down of content, so everything looks like everybody else's. You've got to bring your coaching flair to that. And the people you've worked with, even if you've only worked with 3 people, there's going to be 3 unique people there with 3 unique problems you can bring to that content creation. And if you're not doing that, you're not standing out, and you're certainly not attracting your ideal customer.
Yeah, agreed.
Bit of a rant there. Anything we've missed?
No, I think that's pretty comprehensive, mate. Good.
Excellent. Cool. Well, I'm going to get AI to summarize this podcast and then give me a list of 5 bullet points that we should be talking about. And then I'm going to ask it to make me a carousel on those 5 bullet points. And I'm going to post it probably in about an hour.
Are you really?
No. But what I will do is post this transcript of this podcast into ChatGPT and say, this is a podcast with me and Dan. Give me the main points, the main good points, the main bad points, what a coach who's listening to the podcast should be listening out for, how they will benefit from listening to the podcast, and give me a summary in bullets.
Yeah.
And then from that, it gives me ideas for carousels, reels, etc. for the next week or so. That's a better way to use AI than blindly just creating carousels just from the content generation.
Yeah. Good way to end.
Excellent. Cool. Dan, let's do an outro, which is very quick. Thanks for the knowledge bombs. See you next time.
See you later.